how's it going? I'm Marlene. Thanks for wandering by. Tonight I'm doing a VR to my friend Don Michelle, who created a really cool tarot tag called It Takes a Village 2022. So it's my tarot village, and I really appreciate this type of tag and Don Michelle for doing this, because it's a really good exercise, and it's something that we talk about all the time, about what our decks mean to us and how they function in our lives, and how different decks take on specific like personality types, and they kind of sit in a specific place in the way that we work with them to kind of be that support system to help us and guide us and be there for us and with us as we, travel through this life. And I really had a lot of fun thinking about the decks that I wanted to choose to fit in these 9 different categories. Oh yeah, before I dive in to all of these decks in my tarot village, I just want to mention that you should stick with me through this whole thing, because the last deck, the Stranger, the new deck in my village, is a brand new to me, just got deck today, literally today. So I'm going to be doing like a bit of a unboxing kind of sort of first impressions. So stick with me to the end so that you can see the Stranger, because you're going to get my first impressions of that brand new deck. So I have lots of decks to show you, and yeah, so without further ado, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So the first category is called the Guide, and these are personal decks that are our own personal guide in our own personal journey. And I had a hard time narrowing down this particular category, this particular village council member, because I have so many of my decks really function in this capacity for me, because so much of what I've been doing over the last year has been all about my own like path and personal, trying to like think about my own path and purpose and what I'm doing. And the tarot, coming to the tarot, has been a big part of that. So many of my decks kind of answer that for me. But if you've spent any time on my channel, then you'll recognize these 2 decks, and I'll just kind of get right into it and start with this one over here. This is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. This is one of my favorite decks ever. It's one of the first decks that I ever got. It's a personal deck. It's a guide for me, because this is the deck that feels so much like home. This deck feels like me. It feels like it knows me. This is the deck that I go to, that I reach for almost anything. It is a deck that has been here for me to help me through and answer the most mundane day-to-day questions, to like bigger psycho-spiritual questions about my, my life's purpose, and just where I'm headed and where I've been and where I'm at right now. It is a beautiful deck. It's an independent deck, and it's actually the creator has just come out with different versions of it, and there's a pre-order for that. I'll put all the links, as always, to the decks that I show you in the description box below. But this deck, like I've said, I've said this ad nauseum about this deck, because it's this color spectrum. It's this alien landscape, for me anyway. It's this like post-apocalyptic world, but for whatever reason, this kind of weird color alien, you know, spacey, bizarre deck is something that I go to as just a personal guide for what I need, and messages that I need to help me, you know, through, even just like on a daily type basis. So this is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, one of my personal decks, one of my guides. I couldn't do without this deck as well, which is the Tree Spirit Tarot. And this is also an indie deck. It's available on Printer Studio, so I'll put the link for it below as well. The Tree Spirit Tarot, it's so funny because I'm not like an outdoorsy person, but I feel so connected to these trees. I just love this photo deck. Like, I love everything about this in terms of the way that it just feels like it's meant for me. It feels like it is just a really good friend. Like, these trees are really good friends of mine who I can commune with, who talk to me, who give me messages about just anything. Just like the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, I can go to this deck for just about anything, and it is an amazing guide. The metaphor that comes through with the tree image, with the tarot meaning, with the key word that has been assigned to the tree in the card, it's like I've had some really amazing moments where I've been able to just kind of tap into some real key things about myself and my identity and how I see myself in relationship to other people, my family, my job, my purpose, the things that I care about. So it's a real personal deck. It's a real true guide. And it's been a wonderful tool to have with me. I reach for this, to end on this one. I love this card so much. And I've talked about it before so many times, it feels like already. But that is the Tree Spirit Tarot and the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. They sit as my personal decks, my guides in my tarot village. So the next category, the next village persons, sorry, Don Michelle, the village people, is the Caregiver. And these are support decks. The decks that you go to for a hug deck, something to help you through. And I really thought about this for a little bit, and what kept coming to mind were oracle decks, not tarot decks. And that's what I have here. I have two oracle decks. First, let's talk about the one that I immediately thought of, which is this. This is the Kuan Yin Oracle, and this is the Pocket Edition. I have been so in love with this deck and so in love with what this deck does for me in so many different ways. Kuan Yin is a goddess and an energy that I've begun to work with. Gosh, it's been a little while now that I've stepped into working with Kuan Yin, and I think of her as the Mother of Mercy. She's really helped me in my times of need, and this deck is the Pocket Oracle. I really love it because it has the beautiful image on the front, and then it has the message on the back. I use this deck I go to this deck for many different reasons, but often it is a support deck. It is a caregiver. The energy of this goddess, of this oracle deck, is one of healing, one of care and kindness and mercy. I've learned about Kuan Yin and her story, and it's really changed. It's really changed me quite a bit. And I've gone through some stuff this past year, and I've needed support, and this has been a really great place to go. So I often will pull a card and I will read the back, and I've often copied this message into my journal. I've used it for devotional practice, and it has been a really amazing support system for me. I always know that I can count on this oracle to tell me what I need, the message is there. Sometimes it's not always easy to hear, but it's delivered in such a ethereal, beautiful, kind, true way, that it, lifts my spirit and gives me the care, that I need. That's why it's a caregiver. It's a caregiver deck in my village. And the other deck that I grabbed is the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. And this deck is amazing. It is a deck that I used alongside the tarot in the summer. And these creatures are exactly what the title suggests. These gentle creatures that provide wisdom. It's like soft and sad, but it hits me in that, like, I don't know, that like sad, reminiscent, nostalgic place. This is the deck. There's another deck with this same creator's artwork, but this one has these one keywords, and I was drawn to using this one rather than the other, because these one keywords were so powerful to me. This deck really came into my life just at the right time when I needed this type of support, when I was feeling down, when I was needing like some direction, and in a kind and playful but really sweet, soft, childlike, but not overly childlike, because if it is, that doesn't usually work for me. It just, absolutely was a hug in a deck, right? And it was the type of support and care that I needed to help me through some tough times, some tough things. And I really love this deck. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I absolutely love these creatures. I really felt their energy, and I felt, that was one of the most amazing cards to get. It was awesome. It really, really helped me. It really, really helped me this past summer, when there was just a lot going on, and a lot on my plate, and it was exactly what I needed. So yeah, this deck, the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck and the Kuan Yin Pocket Oracle, are two decks that take a seat in my tarot and deck village, that are caregivers and lend me their support when I need them. Okay, so next up in my tarot village, this is the Muse, a creative work deck. And I had a hard time narrowing this down. I promise I don't have 2 decks for every single category, but I had a hard time narrowing this down because I am a creative person. I am a poet, and I have been using the tarot quite a bit for inspiration. And I mean, I've gone intentionally to the tarot and oracle decks for inspiration, and I've derived inspiration from the decks as well. But these 2 decks stood out on top as a combo, a pairing that blew my mind, and I have written several different pieces because of from using this particular deck combo. It's just amazing, the keywords and the imagery. So here we have, and I'm sorry that I'm showing you some out of print decks. This is the Crow's Magic Tarot, and it's out of print. And this is the Oracle of Echoes, which I believe might still be available. Of course, I'll put links for you. So let's take a look at this, and I want to show you in its full glory, as you know, in combination. So the reason why this combo, I mean, you'll see when you just take a look at the imagery, but for me, it's about these keywords as well. And so each of the tarot cards has 2 keywords, and then you have the keyword from the oracle. And for whatever reason, this color combination and the way that these 2 decks interact with one another is, I find, just incredibly inspiring for poetry. It really kind of slows you down, and that's what I tend to do when I'm writing, because I write usually short form poetry, about 20 to 30 line poems, and they are usually like very zeroed in on a place and time, maybe. Very often they can be extended metaphor. So when you have, oh my gosh, depression, twin soul reverence, dazed, confused, like I can just take all of these keywords and start listing things, and then start making connections between all of these different words. And the imagery in the Crow's Magic is like super bizarre and out there, so it really just gets like the wheels spinning. But for whatever reason, these decks just really inspire me. I could sit here and just read across and get going. The Spinner, Empyrean, Celestial, Shy, Timid, Breakthrough, Unearthly, Mystical, Blend, Meld. Yeah, I don't know if you guys see it, but the Muse hits me the moment that I begin working with these decks. And usually it's just real punchy, sometimes really stark and difficult. Sometimes, there are things that rise to the surface, or just like things that stand out, that need to be written about. And I feel like this deck combination just kind of pulls that out of me. It's just a muse. It's just inspiring. It just works. I just look here and I see it. I see hope, sorcerer, alchemist, elusive, mythical. Look at how, oh my gosh, these birds and this like circular form already. Like I just see it. Goddess speaks. I could do this all day with these two decks. Yeah, gorgeous. Very they they just like hit that sweet spot for me as a poet, in which they elicit my creativity. They just like bring it and call it forth. That's what these two decks do. So the Oracle of Echoes and the Crow's Magic Tarot are in my tarot village as the Muse. So the next seat in the tarot village is the Counselor, a family deck. And this is about that support system for things to do with family and relationships, and the type of deck that you would go to for questions having to do with interpersonal relationships. And I promise I don't have two decks for every single category, but I do for this one. And let me start here with the tarot deck. So this is unfortunately not a deck that you can purchase. This was a homemade deck created by Dawn Michelle. And I had a little bit of input with her on this deck. It is made up of, we call it the sci-fi deck, or the BDH deck for short. This is a deck made up of sci-fi and fantasy heroes and sci-fi TV and movie characters from some of our favorite, Dawn Michelle and my favorite movies and TV shows. And all of the minors are TV shows, and all of the majors are from movies. Now, this has become a family deck for me, because it is the deck that I go to do a check-in for my interpersonal relationships, because it's so peoply, heavily peopled and people focused, that it just like these characters, these archetypes that they embody, like it just is like a really, really great quick answer for anything going on with my immediate family, my extended family, even across my relationships with friends, co-workers. So it's family and beyond. Like, this is a deck for me that reads about interpersonal relationships. It's just, I don't know, that's what it feels like in its spirit. It feels like it's a deck made to answer those types of questions. And in a layout, like all these different people, the way that they are positioned and the way that they move and speak to one another is just like, it's just perfect for that type of counsel. Really feels like a family counselor energy in here in this deck that Dawn Michelle made, which I love very much. So this is the sci-fi deck, or BDH deck, that we so lovingly call, and it is one of my counselor family decks. The other deck that I have to show you in this category is an Oracle deck, and this is a deck that I've shown so many times on this channel that you might get tired of seeing it, but this is the Visionary I Ching cards. And the reason why I chose an I Ching Oracle for the family counselor is because when I read with this deck, I don't shuffle and draw cards. I cast coins to get the I Ching hexagram, and I usually only pull one card. That's one of them that I get all the time. But I have usually very specific questions about very specific things to do with my family life. And the I Ching is such a elegant system. It's simple, it's elegant, it is so straightforward. It gives just the perfect answer. And I don't mean perfect in the way that it's like what I wanted to hear or always positive or anything like that. It's just so compact. I don't know how else to explain it. It just makes perfect sense every single time, and it makes me reevaluate sometimes, but also validates my feelings. It gives me like next steps like a counselor would, but I often go to this deck specifically when I have a very specific family or interpersonal relationship situation that I need some guidance on. And like I said, the answers that come through casting the coins and using this deck and these beautiful, I guess are these watercolor images? I think so. And the guidebook, it's just the message, the elementals, that go along with it. Everything about it is exactly what I need in those particular times when I'm looking for guidance on family matters. So that is the Visionary I Ching cards and the Don Michelle BDH deck that are my the counselor, my family decks. Okay, so next in the Tarot Village is the seats for the Priestess or Mystic, a spiritual work deck. And for those of you that have gotten to know me, it's not going to surprise you that I have out here the Thoth Tarot and the Margaret Peterson Tarot. Let's start with the Thoth because that'll be kind of quick and easy for me to explain. And I'm not going to, everyone has seen the Thoth Tarot, or I shouldn't assume that, but I think a lot of you have seen the Thoth Tarot. I started learning how to read the tarot with the Waite Smith system. And this past year, I have been committed to learning and working with the Thoth. And this past year has opened me up to another level or a next level of understanding spirituality, magic, and so much more. And it's in large part because of this deck. Now, this is my Thoth Greenie, which is out of print, the deck that has these green borders. But the Thoth Tarot is available in other prints. In any case, that's neither here nor there. This is my Mystic because this is my conduit. This deck, while I do use it for every day, and I have been reading with this deck every single day this year. This is my, it's my conduit to the otherworldly. It has opened the gateway for me, and it's largely in part because of Frida Harris's artwork, and the energy that exudes from this particular deck. It's it's a favorite. I'll continue to work with the Thoth Tarot, but it is 100% a spiritual experience. My spiritual work is in this deck. So let me move on to the Margaret Peterson Tarot. And like I said, if you've gotten to know me, you know that this is a favorite deck of mine. Now, while this isn't a deck that I use every single day, this deck is also a spiritual experience. The paintings of Margaret Peterson that came about for this deck it's a spiritual experience. The abstract, immersive quality of these paintings, like I said, it's an experience, it's an immersion. It is transportive in a spiritual way. It is something that moves me beyond the mundane, beyond this world, it feels like. It's very emotional as well. And I think that is, can be very healing and part of spiritual work. The way that I work with this deck is usually I don't draw more than 3 cards, 4 at the most. I use it in conjunction with other decks. I definitely use it alongside the amazing guidebook that has poetry for the majors, amazing write-ups about the minors as well, and it's very elemental. It's very ancient feeling as well. It's like ancient and cosmic and all over, and I adore this deck. I've learned so much in my experiences with it that have felt spiritual. They felt like something outside of myself. Hard to explain, but yeah, so that's the Thoth Tarot and the Margaret Peterson Tarot, my Priestess, my Mystic, my conduit decks. Okay, the next seat in my tarot village, I'm just imagining like all of these characters like seated in this circle around me as my like loving support group. So this is the Elder. This is the deck that gives you sage advice, that is provides for you, that kind of mature, wise soul who steps into your life to give you advice, and like a grandparent it makes me think of, or like an ancestor. And so I chose the Shakespeare Oracle, which is not an oracle but actually a tarot, and this is also out of print, and I'm sorry for showing so many out of print decks. The reason why I chose this is pretty straightforward, because this is a deck that has quotes from Shakespeare's plays on all of the minors. The majors are have characters from Shakespeare's plays. I love this deck. I love Shakespeare. I was completely obsessed with Romeo and Juliet when I was in elementary school, middle school, and then Hamlet became my favorite when I was in high school. And I'm a former English teacher, so I definitely read Shakespeare, taught Shakespeare, and Shakespeare's, like the quotes from Shakespeare that have been chosen for the different tarot cards are brilliant, and it's a wonderful guidebook. It's just always good advice. Shakespeare is timeless. It's universal. I know some people think that Shakespeare is overrated. I'm not one of those people. I think it is timeless and universal for a reason. And I never tire of Shakespeare in all its redone, reimagined, or even traditional, straight up watching plays, as well as movies. But like Shakespeare in tarot form, oh beware my lord of jealousy, the 5 of Cups, like that's amazing. It's so I've gone to, and I go to this deck, and this is one of the first pip decks that I really felt connected to, and it has to do with the quote. It's a beautiful work of counsel, of help, of guidance, and I never tire. Have patience and endure. the Nine of Wands or Scepters here from Much Ado About Nothing. Oh, that's another one of my favorites, Much Ado About Nothing. But yeah, absolutely stunning deck, amazing quotes, always there with the right, the right advice that comes from someone who knows better. Ask me what you will, I will grant it. The Three of Chalices, the Three of Cups. Amazing. And so that's why the Shakespeare Oracle is the elder in my village, the Sage Advice deck. So next in the village is the Teacher, a study deck. So I mean, there could have been so many decks. All the decks are study decks for me. Some are deeper studies than others. The Thoth has been my study deck for this entire year, but it felt more like it sat in my village as my spiritual deck. And so when I thought about this, I kind of went back to last year, and honestly, after the original Waite Smith deck, this is the first deck that I got that taught me about the tarot. And it's an interesting kind of first deck to have because this is the Tarot of the Divine. This is a deck that is made up of fairy tales, myths, and legends. So fairy tales, myths, and divine stories from around the world. This book is sold separately from the deck, but I highly recommend that if you have the Tarot of Divine already, or if you're thinking about getting it, that you also get this companion book because it expands upon the myths and fairy tales. And I'll just page through this real quickly while I'm talking. It gives the myth and the stories from the cards. And it has the beautiful full color tarot card as well as the story. Now it is a shortened version because it's one page of the particular myth, fairy tale, legend, whatever it may be. And it's okay by me that this is, condensed, abridged, abbreviated version of these fairy tales. Many of them are from, cultures and countries and things that I'm not familiar with. And the reason why this for me is the Teacher is because this tarot deck, I'll start flipping through that now. This tarot deck spoke my language and helped me learn the tarot in my language. And my language is the language of story, of metaphor. And I learned the tarot meanings, and then I quickly began going outside of the Waite Smith imagery into these myths and legends and drawing the correlation, the correspondence between the archetypes with these other stories. And I remember working very closely with this deck, reading through the book, and making sense of, sometimes just reading out loud to myself, talking to myself about how this particular story, how this was connected to the Ace of Coins and why. And that's what I've trained to do as someone who studied literature most of my life, that I draw connections and understand symbolism and metaphor and archetypes and tropes and things like that. The Three of Swords and the story. One of my favorites is the story of the snake, the devil. See, we won't come upon it now, that devours the entire forest, the giant red snake. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the story now. But anyway, this is what taught me what the tarot cards meant in a very, here we go, the devil. in a way that just absolutely made sense to me. So I studied and worked with, and this deck was certainly my teacher at the very beginning of my tarot journey. I really, really love this deck. The Tarot of the Divine, the teacher in my village. Okay, so next in the village, we have the Outsider, or the deck that doesn't belong. Yeah, this one was, I thought of this deck immediately, and then I wasn't sure why I thought of this deck, but I've pieced it together because I really do love this deck, and it's the Voyager Tarot. And I've talked about this deck and I've shown it before. It is, you know, the granddaddy of collage decks. This is an older deck. And it is hand-cut collage. I think it's hand-cut collage, I want to say. It has keywords. It's changed the names of the suits. It's weird, and I never thought that I would enjoy, and feel connected to collage decks at all. And this one was one of those outliers that I saw all over the place, but I always was like, no, that one's not for me. These keywords are some of the same words, but associated with different cards than the Thoth that I've been working with. The imagery is like a lot. There's a lot going on there. It's very, you know, it's really scenic. Well, not scenic, it's collage, right? So it's layered and it's got so much going on in it. It doesn't immediately strike you as something conventionally pretty or beautiful. It's weird, and that made it, you know, that makes it like unlike other decks that I have. But I find that maybe not so much, because I have lots of weird decks and I'm weird. We're all weird in our own ways. But yeah, I mean, this deck seemed like an outsider to me because I got it without really thinking that I would like it. And I got it because I was curious about it. And I wanted to see what would happen. You know, I just wanted to try it out. I wanted to see how I would work with it. And it's turned out to be a really wonderful addition to my collection. This Outsider, this deck that seemingly felt like it didn't have a place in my collection, certainly does. And I've grown to really appreciate it for its otherness, you know, for its weirdness. Yeah, so that's the Voyager Tarot, the Outsider, the deck that doesn't seem to belong in my tarot collection or in my tarot village. Okay, here we are at the end, and thank you to those of you that stuck around for the surprise. I hope you didn't spoil it for yourself and look in the description box. But the stranger to my tarot village, which is the newest deck in my collection, a deck that I got just today, is the Intuitive Tarot by Silicon Way. All I did was unwrap it, and I took the slip off, and I, oh my goodness, and there's the box, the inside of the box. So this is ending up being kind of an unboxing first impressions a little bit. I'm just gonna flip through it real briefly because I don't want to take up too much time. But these are the backs. So this is the stranger to my collection because it is brand new. So we'll just flip through. I really was drawn to this deck after seeing it online. It's funny because I had seen it, and the shimmering veil was the one that I was immediately drawn to. And recently though, I don't know if it's because this is maybe more thothy in some ways, that I've been drawn to it. I absolutely love the sphere oval. Yeah, that's very thothy there. Oh, it's so pretty. This deck is amazing. I cannot wait to work with this. I'll just go through all the cards. Wow. Yeah, I don't have I don't have that much to say because this isn't like a proper walkthrough. Look at that moon card. Oh my God. The sun. It's not a proper walkthrough. I've only done one walkthrough. I'm not sure that I'm very good at this type of thing because what ends up happening is I fall into looking at the cards and I stop talking. So I'm not a very good walkthrougher. I'm not very good at that. God, that's a great 5 of Wands. I really love the portal quality with the sphere or the oval. I don't know where, how this deck will end up, this stranger, what it will become for me, how I will end up working with it, what I'll be drawn to use it for. I want to use it now, coming up in December, I think, is where I'm going to begin to work with it. It seems really serious as I'm going through it. It seems like a very serious deck. The colors are really awesome. Like, it's kind of muted, but it still has an intense quality to it. I wonder where the stranger will end up. I hope you guys are enjoying this bit of a flip through here at the end with me. I have to say, this exercise of discussing my tarot village and where my decks end up in as my support system has been a really good exercise for me. I've really enjoyed kind of revisiting the way in which I work with my decks. And I always appreciate tarot tags that do things like that. Look at these swords. Wow. This deck is amazing. I'm so excited to work with it. I'm so excited. This is, yeah, a beautiful deck. And there you have it. You have the stranger to my collection, the intuitive tarot, the stranger in my village. So that's it. These are just a few of the tarot decks that we talked about here in my tarot village, this VR to Dawn Michelle. Thanks again to Dawn for creating this tag, and thank you to all of you for sticking around with me through this entire VR. I appreciate you, and I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day.